All right, cool. Are we ready to run? Back in it? This is such a punctual class. I think half the class is like next door for the first lecture of the day. Seems like it. Or maybe in a different building? Close by? Yeah. Everybody's here like 10 minutes early. All right, nice. Cool. Number one question after last class was like, when are these, like, you talked about all this stuff, when is it due, what are we doing? So the whole course schedule, this was my homework for yesterday, is mapped out from today all the way to May 2nd. I think May 2nd is that last Friday of the semester. So first thing coming up is a practice quiz, so quiz 0. This one, submit, like, do it as many times as you want. Like, everyone should have a 100 on this. Main thing is just getting used to like how we're doing stuff, and I'll show you on I'll show you at some point like how I would approach this and like my process. But you can do it any way you want, as long as you're like satisfying how the stuff is getting turned in. So we have quiz 0 is our first like practice quiz. Then the discussion post submission, that'll be next week as well. So I want everyone to have like a GitHub account so you can access the course discussion page. I won't keep track of like the number of posts or how many posts you read or anything like that, but it is a great resource to like connect to people that are all like involved in the class somehow. And then you can even like review past discussions about things that we had worked on or concepts or readings or any of that. And then we'll have homework 0, and that one we'll work on together next week, where we'll launch up our first Jupyter notebook, look at like projectile motion and what that looks like in terms of like Python code, like plotting results and those kind of things. Yeah, so that'll be the first like week of stuff that we're doing together. And then as we keep like scrolling through, then we'll keep doing the process of like homework 1, do that together, quiz 1, build it together, and then project 1. Project 1's going to be a little different from projects 2, 3, and 4, because that one will be like a proposal for what you want to work on in the last 2 weeks of the semester. So and again, it's sort of like something guiding you to the, like, why are you learning this kind of stuff? Do you want to apply it to robotics, to biomechanics, to cars or bikes, or like there's all sorts of different ways that you can use the idea that forces create motion. So identifying something, like I know I want motion for this, what forces do I need, or how can I control those kind of forces? And then, yeah, keep rinse, wash, repeat, keep going all the way. I'm just gonna scroll all the way to the end of like the last 2 weeks. We'll spend the second to last week talking about and like building together, and it's all individual projects. So everyone will be doing some kind of individual research. It's only 2 weeks. Like, we're not creating a master's thesis here. It's more of like, how do I identify a problem? When I identify it, what are the things that I need to look up? Like, do I need the stiffness of steel? Do I need the density of water or something? Like, all these things of what do we need to look up? How do we turn that into, like, here are the forces involved. Here's an output that I can predict based on these assumptions. So we'll create like a rough draft that week, and then the final week of the semester, not finals week, build out like an actual final product of, and there's different ways that people do this. So we'll build like 4 Jupyter notebooks that are like engineering analyses. So you could copy and paste that notebook and kind of edit it of like, okay, now Professor Cooper told me to do this for a pendulum, but I'm going to edit it and turn it into like a swing set. Like, let me look at swing set design or something, because swing, believe it or not, is like a swinging pendulum. I know, crazy. These wild physics assumptions that you can say a swing set is a pendulum. Still early, and it's Friday. Yeah, so that's one way. Another thing that people do is kind of turn it into like a report, like 2 or 3 pages of this is the project, like this is what I'm thinking about, here's a couple of references of what that's about, this is the method, my assumptions, and then here's the main result. Like one graph of like, this is why something is important, like coefficient of drag is important for driving a motorcycle, something like that. Every semester I offer and never get any follow-up. It's like, or an interpretive dance analysis of dynamics, because I would love to see, because I don't even know where to start on that thing. It's just so outside my realm of expertise. So I always offer it, but my guess is that most of the time everybody's in the same boat as me. Like, it's pretty outside of our wheelhouse of design work. But if you're interested, if you're into it, it would be pretty cool to see like a dynamics project as interpretive dance. So it's up to you how you want to finish out the semester. And I think I said this last time, but no midterm, no final. We'll do that. So there is a final scheduled, but we won't be there. Well, you can be there. The classroom's open, but I won't be there. There won't be anything delivered. All right, so we got schedule. Seems like logistics are laid out. Pause here for the questions. All right, one question that probably didn't know, like wouldn't think to ask, but for all the, let's look back at like content. Like I talked about quiz 0, submit quiz 0 as many times. If you get an 80, resubmit it, get a 100 on it. For homeworks and projects, so pop open like homework 1, project 1. If you get an 80 on homework 1 and you want those points back, like you want a 100, look at what the TA said. Like, hey, this is sometimes it's little things like, hey, you were supposed to multiply by 2, but you multiplied by 20. It's like, all right, well, that's pretty easy to fix. Go back, re-enter the calculation, resubmit the work, get the points back. Sometimes it's more like conceptual of like, hey, you were calculating work done here and setting it equal to momentum, but work is not a change in momentum. Work is a change in energy. So you got to use the right units to match the right units. So there you might have to go back, review material, but you can revise it, resubmit. There's never penalties for resubmissions. And then, yeah, so you can resubmit it, get those points back. So if you, I guess here's the other one of like late submissions. If you are going to submit something late, like it's Friday night, let's see, what are the nights when things are due? Yeah, I think the 31st is a Friday night. Yeah. So it's Friday, 5 p.m., and you haven't even, like, maybe you missed the class where we were working on homework 0. You're like, oh my God, I need more time to do this. You can make a submission to homework 0 and say 2 things. So let me give an example. Start my attempt number 1. I'm just going to make 2 notes in here. I'm not going to submit any like actual stuff. I'm like, I need more time to work on so first thing that I need to know is, let me zoom in, is when, if it's going to be late, how late? Like a couple of days, you don't need to ask for permission. If it's 6 weeks late, then now let's have a conversation of like, why does it need to be 6 weeks late? Something like that. But a couple of days, no problem. So I need more time. And then the other piece of information that I want is what help do you need on the assignment? I can't log into Nano. Hub. I'm meeting with Prof. Cooper on Monday a.m. So what help do you need and where are you getting it is the other part. Those are 2 things that I need for that. Good plan. And then click submit, because everything has unlimited submissions anyway, so you can always submit as many times as you want. Even if you submitted this and then 6 hours later you're like, I know I got this, and submit the work. Totally fine. Easy enough? Not easy. It is asking you to take responsibility of creating your own schedule. But it's a nice like professional development practice, because we're all going to be late at some point, right? So you got to learn to like manage the expectations here is the practice. Oh yeah, it always offers this like, do you want a submission receipt? I don't need it. So if something happens, like you clicked submit and you have a submission receipt but it doesn't actually exist, or maybe the file got corrupted, I trust you. Like you can just say, let me resubmit this, and it's fine. There's no penalties for late submissions anyway, so you can always just resubmit it. Cool. If you like these text submission receipts, it's just for you. I don't know if you use them for like bookkeeping. File under H for homework, P for project, P for pain in the ass. I don't know. Cool. Always fun to just like start a Friday morning with logistical analysis of a course. It's like, this is why we're here as engineers, logistics and quantification of performance. Questions now? I answered questions you didn't even know you had. Yeah.
So with GitHub, so I don't have an account. So is it just only for discussions we're gonna use it for, or anything else?
That one is only for discussions. You can also, yeah, I'll pop open like syllabus. Like if there's anything on the website of like, if there's a typo or a suggestion, you can also like click this thing that says open an issue and say, hey, issue, especially like syllabus, like this would be like if there's something on the syllabus that you think would help the class work better as a learning community, then you can open an issue on the syllabus. And it's similar to like using a discussion, but here it opens up like an official, hey, you should change our course resources for this. So there's that. And then also because it's all hosted on GitHub, like this whole website is GitHub, you could come in here. So I'm gonna ignore. You could come in here and click this button that says fork, and it'll make a copy of the course website like on your own account. And there, like if you want to edit it and like make your own like engineering portfolio of like, hey, I took this class and these are the things that I thought were important. Like it would organize, like it'll reformat all your projects with your analysis in there. So you could do that too. But that one, I don't force you to like make a copy and keep it up to date, but that is the other option and benefit of having like this account. Because GitHub will host as many websites as you want. That's kind of cool too. Yeah.
Should we make the account with like a personal email or?
That one, I think it doesn't matter for what email. Like I've switched my GitHub email, I think 3 times now. So you can always like create a backup email, and but you'll always have access to GitHub. Like it's not a Yukon managed resource until Microsoft decides like to start charging us for it or something. Because Microsoft bought GitHub, and I trust them about as far as I can throw a multi-billion-dollar company. It's not very far. Cool. Good questions. What else we got? And my plan for NanoHub was like Monday, try to get this up and running, make sure everybody has like access and can make an account there. Sound like a good plan? Rather than do it Friday, forget the login information, and Monday, what is this? Tech burnout's a real thing, like signing up for too many accounts. And I do wish there was more of a streamlined way of saying like, if you sign into this one thing, you have access to everything, but I don't have a good solution for that yet. Really, I should just like start my own company and have a single sign-in. But that's the problem that gets made all the time. That's why we have like 7 different USB standards, because everyone thinks they're going to make the next universal serial port, and then now we have a new USB standard. It just adds to the standards. Anyway, dig into some deep stuff, into some big picture, what are we here for stuff. Ready? Not ready? It's the end of the first week. This is like, you guys earned this Friday night. I know it was shorter. It was only 4 days, but still, it's like, it's a lot of stuff we got through. Let's jump in. All right, some dogmatism, some philosophy of Newtonian mechanics. First off, what are the three Newtonian, like, what are Newton's three laws? Do you remember those? Yeah. Okay. Which one is that? First law. Object. Oh, too many C's. All right. Yep.
Equal and opposites.
So there's equal and opposite. So which one is that?
The second one.
Is that one second? What's the equal opposite? Third? Third law? Yeah. So every force has equal. I can't spell today, or any day. All right, cool. We're just missing number 2. What's the second law? This is the one that, like, you wake up with nightmares about. Yeah, F equals ma, force is mass times acceleration. I think one of the original posings was like the momentum will change proportional to the force supplied or something. But yeah, like F equals ma. F equals ma, or F is the change in mv. Yeah. So these are like the laws of Newtonian physics. Does anybody have like pent up issues with Newtonian physics so far? Like have you been like experiencing the world and you're like, that's not F equals ma, or something? Like, do you have some lived experience where you feel like F does not ma? Not yet. Or maybe you just haven't been like paying, like watching, like observing enough. I don't know. No real, nothing comes to mind. I don't see anybody seething, like angry about the fact that, like, oh, he's writing up those laws again. Like, oh, those aren't laws, those are just like suggestions. No real issues. Nothing like relativistic problems or something. So roughly, maybe, we're all kind of like, all right, Newton's laws work. This is a Newtonian physics kind of world. Yeah? Newtonian physics world. All right. So in here, Newtonian physics is very much like a cause and effect physics. And it's an underlying dogmatism of physics in general. It's like we're always looking for what's the fundamental force, what caused this, why is this effect is from this force or from this energy, or these changes in energies are creating that force. Like it's always cause and effect, right? Cause. Everything that we see is because of some cause. We talked about it with like kinematics and kinetics. Kinematics is like, all right, we see something moving. Kinetics is like, why is it moving? All right, there's a force. Here's a force. There's a constraint. All these things. So if we're in this Newtonian world and we think Newtonian world, all cause and effect, do you still have free will to change things in this cause and effect world? Like, can you have free will outside of the cause and effect of Newton's laws? That's our question for today. So let's take a couple of minutes, ask a neighbor, maybe convince them to like give up free will in this Newtonian world, or the opposite, like jump on board in your anarchy. Like Newton's laws don't exist. Anarchy on Earth. So that's our question. So do we still have All right, so let's do a quick check-in. Talked about it a little bit, like just kind of thumbs up. At least so far, I'm just sort of drawing a line in the sand from, like, and again, small piece of the class, drawing a line in the sand. Who says like, oh yeah, Newton's laws, like they're laws. Like if everything's a cause and effect, then there's no room for choice in a cause and effect world. So who's kind of in that determinism camp? Does anyone have? Six-ish. That's funny. There were 6 in the last section too. If we had another one, there'd be 6. Like the devil's number. No free will. No. 6. Any other? Yeah. What about the free will camp? People that are like, maybe it doesn't, maybe I don't know exactly, but free will has to fit into the world somehow. Maybe it's not Newton. Yeah. So at more than 25, I didn't count exactly, but not to like put people in a minority here, but just as a rough sense of like where's this class? Are we existential free will practitioners, or are we like deterministic, like moving along? We might think we have free will, but I'm more of an automaton going through the motions. Did anyone sit like somewhere in the middle? Was that, yeah?
Yeah, I was sometimes some form of free will, but other times it just depends on the situation.
Okay, like what would be an example of like a situation where there's free will, or like a choice where the choice is independent of what happened? What do you think?
I was thinking like where the ball, you threw the ball at your will.
Okay.
Forces. After that, it's really up to the forces. So I think it's like the action is the free will part.
Okay.
What happens after it?
Yeah. Okay. So maybe, so in that sense, it's like free will is creating these like actions or things of free will is creating causes, but it's not actually bound by causes. Did anybody else sit like somewhere in the middle or have a different idea? Some of both. What about like determinism? Does anyone want to share like why free will is not here, or yeah?
I just thought that it's like they're called Newton's laws, or like for example, they're called Newton's laws for a reason. Proven.
Okay.
So I feel like that's like a lot of aspects where like there are like laws that are proven. So it's like if you do this, that's going to happen.
Okay. Yeah.
That way.
Yeah. Like as much choices as I make, if I fall out of a chair, I'm going to accelerate at 9.81 meters per second squared. Like no matter how fast my mind races, still going to hit the ground. If I'm in the air for 1 second, I'm going to hit the ground at 9 meters per second. Yeah.
So did you choose to throw yourself out of the chair?
Yeah. I don't, yeah, in that one, yeah, what were the things that made me fall out of the chair? Maybe I was distracted, I was trying to eat, my kids are asking me questions about free will, and then I fall over, like, whoa, I was leaning back. I shouldn't have been leaning back, but I was tempting fate. So in that sense, like, I can retrospectively kind of trace back the causes of like all these things led to me falling out of a chair, and then I followed Newton's laws. But we're still like tracing causes of like these things led to that. One thing that came up in a couple of different ways was the idea of like probabilities, or kind of like options, probabilities, those kind of things. What do you think? The fact that there's like one of the theories is like the multiverse, right? Of like everything possible can and does happen, right? That the multiverse theory sort of choice. Is that free will, or is that like a no free will theory? What do you think? Where does that one fall into? Like if I say that everything that could happen will happen, is that meaning that determinism is real, or does that mean that free will is real? Yeah.
Free will.
That free will is real? Okay. Yeah. So the decision. So you think decisions?
I mean, the existence of all those features means that there's revenue that have different decisions.
Okay. Yeah. So it sounds like decisions are like one of the flip-flop factors. So here's one question about a like something that decides something. Like, and the simplest idea, we have a thermostat on the wall. It decides whether or not to give us heat, right? It's either going to give us heat or not give us heat. And it monitors room conditions. Smarter thermostats will monitor outside temperature. They'll monitor how many people are in the room or whether or not there are people in the room. They'll monitor current temperature of the room and then decide whether or not heat is going to be added to the room. So in the multiverse, maybe there are rooms at all different temperatures at all different points in time. Does the thermostat have free will? Yeah.
No, because it was programmed by someone who does have free will.
Okay.
So it decided by the programming that was put into it.
Okay. So now we've got like, there's got to be some kind of agent of free will that imparts choices. So there's like something different about the way we make choices almost. Kind of. Something different about it. Can our choices be made without like context of where we come from, our family, our heritage, friends? Like, can you make a choice that is independent of history? Yeah. Nice. Some good like existential philosophy. So what do you can? What do you think? You think you can just say like, no, I'm gonna cut ties with my past self and make new choices? Free will is like, that's like Sartre. He talked about like radical free will, which is like the ability to just like totally cut ties with whatever your acting self is and like complete U-turn from what you were doing. You like, he called it like annihilating your past self. Like completely different idea. Okay. Did anyone change their mind so far? A little bit?
I have a question.
Oh, okay.
Like, the example you said of the thermostat being a different energy for every like multiverse.
Yeah.
Like, although I am using a free will for every multiverse to do like a simple temperature, if I do one with 85,
Mm-hmm.
the others can't do 85, they have to do a different number. So wouldn't to some extent wouldn't it be determinate because you have to do a different number every time?
Yeah.
A different number.
That's kind of what I thought was like a multiverse, and at least for like physics, there's, and I said this before, there's like this dogmatism of like we're looking for what is the root cause of the universe, like how is everything moving forward ahead in time. So that multiverse theory to me feels like determinism, because you're saying like these things have to happen because they can happen, so they do. And so the fact that there's a chance that it might not happen doesn't mean that there's no free will, or that there is free will. It just means that there's there's lots of things that did happen and we just happen to end up in this scenario. That's what I had interpreted multiverse kind of theory as. But I don't know, some people look at it and say, no, not so much.
So you're interpreting it as an exclusive timeline, like one timeline has a Peter Parker.
For like MCU sort of multiverse. Yeah. So like at least one interpretation is like not so much that there's only one Peter Parker, but like all those Peter Parkers
Are different, but they be the same one.
that there can be the same one.
Thermostats, if one's
Yeah.
Or could there be another one where it's also infill? Or is it exclusively only set?
I don't know. I guess it would depend on like how many differences the multiverse has to have. I don't. Yeah, it gets kind of weird because it's based on it's this idea of like probability of like things could happen this way, so they have to happen that way. So in the sense of like what choices get made, if we're considering that as like yes, there is a probability there, then yeah, maybe there are two exactly the same Peter Parkers, but different surrounding. Like one lives like through the multiverse. There's like Peter Parker in New York versus Peter Parker in it wasn't New Delhi. What was the Indian New York version called? I forget. That one was awesome too. But anyway. Cool. All right. So a little bit about why even do this is like how is this class kind of fitting in? Like, how do you think about this class? Is this like a tool that gets used? It's useful, but it's not applying to me. Like I am my own person. I make choices. I live outside of Newton's laws. It's one way to go about this. Another way is sort of folding in like Newton's laws into your everyday life. Like cause and effect is a real thing, and maybe I can use that to my advantage. Like always looking for root causes of things. So however you're choosing to use tools that we're building in this class, that's up to you. You won't figure it out today, but over your life, it's good to ask the question. All right, have a great weekend. Thanks so much. Thanks.